This man has been an announcer for every presidential inauguration since Dwight Eisenhower in 1957.
President George W. Bush and First Lady Laura Bush. The President of the United States.
So people have heard his voice for years during this occasion. Well, now the 89-year-old Charles Brotman will not be the voice of Donald Trump's swearing in. He is being replaced by a local freelance announcer. A Trump spokesman says Brotman will be honored as the, quote, announcer emeritus. Brotman told a Washington, D.C. station that he was heartbroken when he first heard the news.
The glitz, the glamour, the Golden Globes. Hollywood's annual kickoff to award season looks to honor the best in film and television. With 7 nominations, La La Land leads the pack on the motion picture front.
It's very, very exciting.
It takes a very traditional medium, the Hollywood musical, which has been around for a century, and it really does reinvent it for a modern audience.
The Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling-led movie is up for Best Motion Picture Musical or Comedy, alongside 20th Century Women, Deadpool, Florence Foster Jenkins, and Sing Street.
It's all love and all pride in this house.
Moonlight, a gritty coming-of-age film, has 6 nominations, including 1 for Best Motion Picture Drama, along with Hacksaw Ridge, Hell or High Water, Lion, and Manchester by the Sea.
People do admire me, Johnny.
With 5 nods, The People vs. O.J. Simpson, American Crime Story, dominates the TV categories, including a nomination for Best Miniseries or Television Movie.
My reign has just begun.
For the 4th year, Game of Thrones is up for Best Drama Series. The epic fantasy will face off with newcomers The Crown, Stranger Things, This Is Us, and Westworld.
I get to wear this tuxedo.
Taking a stab at the Master of Ceremonies duties this year, Jimmy Fallon.
I'm already practicing wearing it every single night and just handing out awards to random people.
The late-night host follows previous Golden Globe MCs Ricky Gervais and Tina Fey and Amy Poehler.
What makes the Golden Globes fun is this sense that anything can happen, and that goes with the host as well.
From first bottle to last trophy, the show should live up to its title as Hollywood's biggest party. Stephanie Elam, CNN, Hollywood.
Turkish Prime Minister Binali Yildirim began his visit in Baghdad, meeting with his counterpart Haider al-Abadi. The talks are aimed at increasing cooperation, but also mending ties. Relations were strained between Ankara and Baghdad in October over the presence of Turkish troops in Bashika, Iraq. Each side had summoned the other's ambassador. Baghdad had then emphasized that Turkey was violating Iraqi sovereignty. Iraq's prime minister announced on Sunday the 2 sides had reached an agreement, but Iraqi state television did not provide details. Yildirim emphasized the withdrawal of troops would be solved eventually in a friendly manner, but fell short of indicating an agreement of when and how the Turkish troops would return to Turkey.
Iraq's sovereignty and the unity of Iraqi territories are a very sensitive issue to us. The issue will be resolved when peace prevails in that area.
Some Iraqi officials welcomed the visit as a sign of goodwill.
A
visit by a high-level delegation to Iraq at this time is a recognition by the Turkish side of their past mistakes toward Iraq and an effort to build a new page on the economic, political, diplomatic, and security levels. I think the Turkish military presence in Bashika was aimed at being a part of the Battle of Mosul against ISIL. They wanted to leave a mark there.
Economic relations were also discussed, as both sides want to boost trade volume and increase cooperation on tourism and cultural activities. The Turkish Prime Minister also traveled to Erbil and met with Iraqi Kurdish officials. Yildirim reiterated that Turkey cannot allow the Kurdistan Workers' Party, known as the PKK, to launch terrorist attacks on Turkey from Iraqi territory. Michal Bardavit, CGTN, Istanbul.
I just have to say, thanks for the endorsement, Bill. Took you long enough. Oh, snap!
That was Hillary Clinton back in the day taking a jab at Mayor Bill de Blasio of New York City for holding out on endorsing her last year. Is she about to get her revenge? De Blasio's soft poll numbers have led to talk of Hillary Clinton challenging his reelection bid, and of course she would have dominion over a certain Manhattanite, President-elect Trump. So will she run? The panel's back with me. Neera Tanden, confidant of Hillary Clinton and attendee at a recent Bill de Blasio fundraiser.
Yes, the morning of the story.
Is it possible that Hillary Clinton will run for mayor of New York City?
I think she's going to figure out ways to help kids and families. That's been what she's been focused on her whole life. And there are a lot of issues that are affecting them over the next couple of years, but I don't expect her to ever run for any elected office again.
You don't ever?
Yeah,
ever
that's
again?
my sense. I don't expect her to run for this, and I don't expect her to run for other office. I think her job is what she's thinking about right now is how to help serve kids and families as she has her whole life.
All right, well, let's leave that there. I want to go back to Obamacare because the senator weighed in, and I know a lot of people have thoughts. Here is Senator Chuck Schumer talking on January 4th about Republican efforts to repeal Obamacare. Take a listen.
They want to repeal it and then try to hang it on us. Not going to happen.
What do you want to see Democrats do if Republicans, or when Republicans, I should say, repeal Obamacare?
I mean, continue to fight. I mean, Jake, people in this country, healthcare is the most fundamental thing that they have. Your wealth is your health. And for Republicans, after 60 times of trying to repeal it, for them to not have a replacement in mind at this moment is scandalous. You cannot just throw people out. 30 million people, their lives hang in the balance over this, and that is real. Healthcare is real, and Democrats certainly understand that. It doesn't seem like Republicans do.
Alice, there are millions of Americans who now have health insurance because of the Medicaid expansion that was part of Obamacare. Also, there are millions of Americans who can now afford health insurance because of tax subsidies and stipends. Is it important that Republicans have something in mind for them before they take that away?
That's clearly in the works, and Schumer is exhibiting what we're seeing from a lot of Democrats, imposing the Pottery Barn rule with regard to Obamacare, that you broke it, you own it. The truth is, it's been broken since its inception, and we've heard assurances from Speaker Ryan over the past week that they're not going to pull the rug out from underneath these people that currently have coverage. And Vice President-elect Mike Pence said, look, we are going to be promise keepers. This is a promise we made to voters. We were elected based on repealing and replacing Obamacare, and they are committed to doing just that and making it a smooth transition.
You're absolutely right. Donald Trump said he would repeal and replace together. In fact, after the election, he said he would repeal and replace together. And there are 5 million people who voted for Donald Trump, at least 5 million, who are receiving health care because of the Affordable Care Act.
Because of the stipends or because of the Medicaid expansion?
Both.
Yeah.
And because of the exchanges and because of Medicaid. And those people trusted Donald Trump that they would know what their plan is. They expect the same or better. And right now, what Republicans are saying is, please jump off this cliff, and we'll tell you where the net is on your way down. They are not planning. No. The absolute truth is here, you were right. They should have a plan. And their plan right now is to tell you after the next election. Americans can see through that. 75% of Americans oppose that plan. And I hope they listen to Donald Trump, who's already raising questions about the strategy, and give people the plan they're going to have as they vote to replace
Here,
them.
Senator, you saw Senator Rand Paul had said that President Trump committed to him repeal and replace, to have a replacement. When I asked Kellyanne Conway about it, she had no commitment as to the timing. But you think, how can the Republicans not have a replacement?
Well, here's the interesting thing, and this is why Rand Paul, I think, is apoplectic, and a lot of conservatives are saying we need to have a replacement in place, and here's why. Because if you repeal Obamacare, that means you repeal all, and they're going to do it through reconciliation, which means just taxes and spending. That's all they can really touch. They can't touch a lot of policy, which means they're going to get rid of the taxes, they're going to get rid of the fees, they're going to get rid of all the spending proposals, and so they're gone. So they're going to have to replace it, which means they're going to have to vote for new taxes, new spending. And conservatives are saying, whoa, 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 we're not going to do that. Right. You've got to do it the same way so it doesn't look like we're a few months before the election.
You want the
next
Obamacare
year.
Taxes.
We're going to want some of them. And some of the money that's there from Obamacare is going to have to be used, or at least some version of it. It has to be used to finance a lot of the proposals that are being put forward to help subsidize the private insurance programs that are going to be put forward. So there will be a repeal and replace. I don't think that logistically they're going to put up a vote to repeal everything and then have to vote for a tax increase to put a new thing in place.
It's just a fascinating story. Nina, Senator Alice, Nira, thank you so much. Appreciate one and all. Happy New Year. Thanks for being here.
In Zambia, where the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has arrived in the capital Lusaka and has met with the Zambian Foreign Minister Henry Kalaba. And later on Monday, the Chinese Foreign Minister is due to meet with President Edgar Lungu. The visit is the second stop in Wang Yi's 5-country African tour, with China's foreign ministry looking to comprehensively upgrade cooperation with the African continent throughout 2017. Wang Yi's tour of Africa is also aimed at enhancing solidarity and common development among developing countries. China has several major projects running in Zambia at the moment. The largest project looks to assist in the construction of the Zambia-Tanzania Railway. And Wang Yi's next stop will be Tanzania.
Welcome back. There was a huge party over the weekend, and neither you nor I was invited. President Obama opened the doors to his celebrity friends, ranging from Chris Rock to Tom Hanks to half of the cast of Seinfeld. One last blowout with moving day on the horizon. The sidewalk outside the White House this weekend rivaled the Hollywood red carpet. And all over Instagram, the stars were sharing their own snaps. Some said the party was deeply personal.
Sentimental night. Okay. It's been a great 8 years. Been really amazing 8 years. Never thought I'd see a black president in my lifetime.
Thanks to the Obamas, black musicians and artists have been welcomed into the White House as they never have before, such as at this concert last year.
While much of the music that you will hear this evening, gospel, R&B, rap, is rooted in the African American experience. It's not just black music. This is an essential part of the American experience.
Comedian Dave Chappelle described that night as a transformative experience.
Everyone went into the West Wing of the White House, and it was a huge party. And everybody in there was black except for Bradley Cooper for some reason.
Chappelle says it was more than a party for him. It was a moment in history.
To my knowledge, the first black person that was officially invited to the White House was Frederick Douglass. They stopped him at the gates. Abraham Lincoln had to walk out himself and escort Frederick Douglass into the White House. I thought about that, and I looked at that room, and I saw all those black faces in Bradley, and I saw how happy everybody was. These people who had been historically disenfranchised. And it made me feel hopeful, and it made me feel proud to be an American.
Barack Hussein Obama. His name is Barack Hussein Obama. 8 years filled with drama, but man, we love you like a mama.
Japan's ambassador to South Korea, Yasumasa Nagamine, will return to Japan today. This is part of Japan's protest against a sex slave statue put up outside its consulate in the South Korean port city of Busan. The statue memorializes women forced into sexual slavery by Japanese troops during World War II. Reports say the ambassador will stay in Japan for about a week. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has called on South Korea to remove the statue. He said the two countries' agreement from late 2015 was supposed to resolve differences and put an end to the issue. The row also has led to the suspension of talks on a new currency swap.
This conflates or misdirects from the key issue. There's nobody saying the United States should not work with Russia in Syria. No one's saying the United States should not work with Russia if the details of the Iran deal come up and things like that. No one says the United States should not work with Russia on a host of issues. They're saying, but as you work with them, you also have to be honest about what about Georgia? What about the Crimea? What about the slaughter of innocent children in Syria? What about other steps that Russia has taken to be open and honest about their activities that run counter to U.S. interests?
And the people saying this the most strongly, it cannot be said enough, are Republicans. You know, people like Tom Cotton in the Senate, who has been largely supportive of Trump. You know, he said this week, Russia is not our friend for any number of issues because they do things around the world that are unacceptable, that nobody else does. And Trump can have a position of, I want to improve relationships. That's the place that Obama came in on. He wanted to reset Russian relations. That's not in and of itself a bad thing, but you have to have a sort of more open mind about the reality of the situation. That Vladimir Putin is an ideological warrior for his own interests and for the interests of Russia. He is not trying to play patty cakes with the United States. He's playing a long game, and Trump has to demonstrate on some level that he recognizes that he understands the complexity of that situation.
And John, what's going to be so instructive are the confirmation hearings for the national security team. How do they respond to questions about Russia? General James Mattis, for one, is taking a much tougher approach to Russia. And even Rex Tillerson, who is a close Putin ally, who was as head of ExxonMobil, in these private meetings with senators, he's suggesting that that was just a business relationship, suggesting that he even may take a tougher line. It'll be interesting to see if he goes further than the president-elect on this key issue, and I think it's going to show some divide within the Trump team.
And it's interesting to go back in time. Abby, you make a key point. I was covering the Bush White House when he first met with Vladimir Putin. The first one was in Slovenia, and he said, I looked into his soul, and I saw a good man. The Bush administration would tell you that was a huge mistake, and they learned over time. The Obama administration tried to reset, thinking we're going to fix this mess, because Mr. Trump is right. You do need to get along with Russia, or at least do business with Russia on serious issues. They tried to reset, and they've been foiled. Bill Burns, who was a long-time career Foreign Service, now he served as one of Hillary Clinton's key deputies, so a Republican will just write this off as partisan. But Bill Burns served the United States government, Democrats and Republican presidents at the State Department for a long time as an ambassador and a diplomat. He writes in an op-ed in the New York Times, it's tempting to think that personal rapport can bridge this disconnect, and that the art of the deal can unlock a grand bargain. That is a foolish starting point for sensible policy. It would be especially foolish to think that Russia's deeply troubling interference in our election can or should be played down, however inconvenient. It's the last part there. If you want to have a relationship with Russia, fine, good, work it out. But to just want to not talk about this, is it? You started by saying, it's Trump being Trump, and it's Trump. Is it just Trump's fragile ego? He can't acknowledge that Russia tried to help him, and we don't really know if the fake news and the hacked Podesta emails affected any voters' decisions in the end. We can't answer that question unless we, interview every voter out there. Is that all it is, or does he just fundamentally have a very different worldview about Russia that leaves him not alone, but almost alone in the Republican Party?
I feel like to have a worldview, you'd have to see there would have to be something before he ran for president to back that up. He didn't really have anything. It's all new. And so right now, it seems like he's in a defensive crouch. The legitimacy of him being president is a big deal, particularly to someone like Donald Trump. And it's been really interesting. While everyone is right, this is going to be a huge fight with Republican senators, Republicans members of the House. You haven't seen, few of them have taken it directly to him. A lot of them have been talking past him. You saw a lot of the questions during that hearing last week. It was meant to sort of refute some of the things that Trump has said, but they didn't say Donald Trump has said. So there is going to be a clash, and they're going to have to stop talking past each other. I've been saying this over and over again at some point. And maybe it's when he decides to get rid of the executive action when it comes to the sanctions. We'll have to wait and see.
So many Republicans think that Donald Trump would actually look stronger if he would come out and say, okay, we are going to aggressively look into this. As Joe Biden said this week, it is over. So there is some hope from Republicans. The closer Donald Trump gets inside the Oval Office and at the White House, he may have a change in view, but I'm not so sure.
12 days and counting.